Hey, and welcome to The Noble Marriage, where we bring relatable, raw, and real conversations all about life and marriage. Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele.
And welcome to episode 16.
Yes, you are going to want to stay tuned for this conversation because this applies to every marriage, every individual out there. But first, last week we talked about you experiencing an event in your childhood and how that one event changed the trajectory of your life.
Such a great episode to be able to go back. I think you'll be able to relate to it because we have all experienced something from our past that the enemy has written a lie on our heart that we keep taking with us into the future.
Yeah. But first, I would love to have some gratitude for you.
Yeah. Let's do gratitude.
I am grateful for your openness, mainly that around personal responsibility. I have just seen over the course of our marriage together where there was a lack of personal responsibility and in taking responsibility for you, your heart, your feelings, your emotions, all of those things. And I watch you do that now. And I just am very grateful to do a marriage with a whole and complete individual. So thank you.
Thank you. I do not want to take personal responsibility sometimes.
I know. I get it. I don't either.
Thank you. Well, that leads me to my gratitude. I'm grateful for your patience and grace. You know, this particular one where you're talking about where I'm taking personal responsibility. It was very recently, and we had an argument that continued on for about a month. And I refused to take personal responsibility for myself during that month because I was blaming you for what I was feeling. Mm-hmm. And I am so grateful for your patience with me, for your ability to, because you were fine. You were fine. You weren't triggered, but you were just lovingly pointing me to truth. Lovingly. Not condescending, not passive aggressive, not defensive, but lovingly pointing me to truth.
Thanks.
I'm very grateful for that.
I think it's funny that you thought I was talking about something specific and I wasn't.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I
that's
love
the most
that.
recent where you have acknowledged me
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
I've had to work hard to have that patience because I didn't have that.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's definitely a fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah, and it all really stems from our thorns, honestly, because if I'm allowing my thorns to get pricked by you, it's codependent in some kind of way where I'm expecting you to fix how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And when I get to show up whole and complete, it does allow me to have fruit of the Spirit and show that with you. But it also, like you weren't seeing, I did three heart cycles, like where I took care of my heart in that month because I was getting pricked by you, but I was seeing that, I can do something about this. And it's a great place to be in marriage for sure.
It is because when you are speaking to me, you're not speaking to me from a reaction.
Right.
Which would end up triggering me.
Right. Which is all about what we did last week in the episode before, where we talked about you showing up not good enough, has a reaction that impacts me, and the cycle.
Yeah,
Nasty cycle.
And you all have that cycle as well. We all experience that, which is a great reason why we're glad you keep coming back to these episodes.
Yes.
Is because we continue to keep talking about this same thing.
Yes, and today's conversation is so needed, I think, because when you have two individuals in marriage, it's really important that we both take excellent care of our well-being. Because our daily habits, all of the things we do throughout the day, our routines, they have an impact on our well-being. So
yeah, everything that we do in every part of our our body, every part of our experience in life, everything we do has an impact on us. Every choice we make has a result to it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some things like our diet, exercise, sleep, our mindset. These are all really important things for us to focus on as individuals to take really good care of our physical and mental health.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a ton out of this episode. Make sure and grab your journal and your pen. You're going to want to write down some notes. At the end, we're going to have some great journaling questions, some reflective questions to be able to, how can I apply this to my life? And you'll be able to write those down.
Yeah. You ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is your portion of the book.
As I reflect back on my past daily habits, lifestyle, routines, diet, exercise, hobbies, and extracurricular activities, I am shocked and dismayed that I thought these were normal. What about you? What are your daily rhythms of life? What are your daily habits, diet, nutrition, exercise, and relationships like? As you think of them, are they getting you closer to or further away from what you really want in your life? One day, I took our yearly medical exam at the police department. The medical team did all the blood work and comprehensive physical. The doctor wanted to talk to me a few weeks later about the results. By the way, that's not good if the doctors want to talk to you.
Right.
He said that my cholesterol was life-threatening and I needed to lose weight, exercise, and eat a healthier diet. I was concerned. It did scare me. I knew that I needed to change. But did I take advantage of this news as a wake-up call? No, not really. I didn't consider what I ate as being very important. I assumed that if they sell it at stores and restaurants, then it's good to consume. I was eating fried, fatty, fast foods often, junk food, sweet sodas, sweet tea, and sweet coffee as a daily diet. I was slowly killing myself with my diet and habits and didn't realize it. As a police officer, early in our marriage, I didn't make much money, and we had debt. One of the great perks of being a police officer in the city I worked in is fast food establishments would give us free food. And I took advantage of this employment benefit. I was eating fast food several times a day, almost every day, for years and years. I also stopped caring for my physical body. I no longer exercised or took care of my body, and I gained 55 pounds during the first several years of our marriage. It's no wonder that I was often sick and going to the doctor for various issues with my back, stomach, mood, digestion, upper respiratory, and immune system. I was often sick with a cold that turned to bronchitis at least 2 to 4 times a year.
Pause. Yeah. Are you getting present with what that lifestyle was like? 'Cause it's been a while.
It has been a while. I don't miss that lifestyle at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just curious, if you're looking back at that time in our life, how do you see your habits and routines playing an impact on your overall well-being?
The habits that I was choosing were things like my eating habits, eating things that weren't good for my body. That had an impact on my gut, on my mood, on my my overall feeling, because I just felt like crummy. After I would eat, I would feel crummy, is the best way to say it. Mm-hmm. It had an impact on my mental health. I feel like when I would eat so much sugar and processed foods, it would put me in a fog.
You didn't know it then.
No.
But looking back,
but looking
you can
back,
see.
this is the impact I could see. It.
Yeah.
I had poor sleeping habits. I didn't sleep very well. I didn't take physical exercise wasn't important for me at all. So my body started deteriorating.
Yeah. I look back at that time and I'm like, now we have the thought process of God gave us one body, and we get to take care of the body that he gave us, or it breaks down and we have to live with that body broken down and, destroyed. And now we can see the benefits of taking care of our body. Back then, we didn't have that mindset that our body was important to take care of. I think for me, maybe I thought someday I'll take care of myself, but now's not the time because I don't feel like it. It was easier for me to lay on the couch than go exercise and eat potato chips and ice cream.
Exactly. I love what you said. You said, get to. Because you described us having this one body. That God has only given us this one body that we need to steward well. Or it starts going downhill, like what I was experiencing, or maybe what you might be experiencing in your own body.
Yeah, like I was 75 pounds heavier. You were 55 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight. Like that's carrying around a haven and a half more than what I have right now. That really puts into perspective the wear and tear that something like that would have on my body. Like my knees and my feet were hurting all the time.
I was always achy.
Why I can't go exercise when I'm in all this pain. But then I also had the opposite side of not taking care of my body where I would feel guilty for being overweight. I would starve myself for days because I'm losing weight and I'm getting control of this out of control feeling. And that leads me into my next question is I know now that my thorns were at play, and that's what was going on for me is I needed to be in control in my life. I needed to be independent. And underneath all of that was I was feeling not good enough and misunderstood and controlled. Yeah. And so I needed control in my own life, and I would take my eating under my control, which is why I would starve myself. But then I would binge eat on the other side. So I was stuck in this out of balance cycle. So what do you see for yourself? Like how did your thorns really play an impact on your overall well-being?
Yeah, very similar to what you just described. You were describing this how did you describe it?
Out of balance cycle.
And I would describe mine similar as the cyclical thing that was, I would go up here and I would be, my health is important to me and my diet is important to me. And then I would go down here and I wouldn't be taking care of myself. And then I would see,
we would get burnt out.
Yeah, I would do this thing where I went back and forth, and that had a huge impact on me. I didn't do it for, I guess, the right reasons. I was thinking of my diet would be, I need to get control over my weight so I can go back to eating the things that I want to eat, the things that I like, the things I desire.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious what thorn has you doing that?
The first one that comes to my mind is either unworthy or not good enough, and it causes me to, one of them, I think it's unworthy, would cause me to do binge eating.
Emotional
eating, specifically at nighttime. The not good enough is the other one landing, but I may need another minute to think that through.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think when there is this out of balance cycle, it's really important to look at why is that happening in my life? And I would just pose that question to you, like think about your own routines. Are there areas of your life like diet, eating habits, sleep habits, exercise that you might be neglecting that's impacting your overall well-being? I think it's really important to look at that and discover like what is really going on underneath the symptoms that I'm seeing in my life. And that's what this channel is all about, is we want to teach our audience what we have learned and that there's always a root of why things happen in our life. Always.
Can I talk about another one?
Yes.
All right. So not good enough. What you're talking about is the symptoms that are on the other side, and that looked like me needing to have approval, do more, be more, had me people pleasing at the risk of myself, right? And that may relate to a lot of you on the other side of this camera, is this need to people please, yet I feel resentful.
I mean, really look at that though, because you wouldn't have said you were resentful, but deep down, like you can see now, you never wanted to people please, but you had to, in order that people won't judge you and they'll think you're good enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that. It also had me, needing accolades from work. I wanted accolades from you, but I didn't get it.
And I can see like that created this victim mentality, like we talked about last week, which would really impact your well-being.
Good point. Yes.
Yeah, because if you're being a victim, you're not taking control of your life. You're sitting back and life is happening to you, and it's everyone else to blame why you are where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so important that we really look at that and start to look at how can we identify unhealthy habits and behaviors that have become normalized. And I would love for you to answer what your thoughts are on how we can discover that.
I think my first thought is we need to create an awareness of what it is we want in our life.
So true. Because if I don't know what I want, I'm not working towards anything.
Right. So what I'm thinking is, if I know where I want to be in my life, in the areas of my life that are important to me. So like, for instance, let's talk about physical fitness right now. If I want to be there, I can come backwards to right now and say, are these daily routines and habits, are they getting me to there?
Right.
What are the fruit that they're producing? Because everything we do will produce some type of fruit. It may be a productive fruit, or it may be like sloth or laziness, but it will produce some type of fruit. So that's the first thing I would think of, is determine who I want to be, where I want to be, and then go backwards and say, are these daily routines and habits consistently getting me what it is that I want in my life?
Yeah.
And if not, I would go address those things, go address whatever those habits, daily habits are.
Yeah, and I would even piggyback on that and say, go deeper and look at why are you doing what you're doing, and address the lies of the enemy first. Because when we can identify the lies of the enemy, then we can actually eradicate that from our life. And now we have brand new choices available before us. Whereas these patterns that we're talking about, habits and things that we create in our life, they are strong.
What I hear you saying, Adelle, is what I just said is go backwards and see the daily habits that don't work, and then go forward the things that do. And what you're saying is, yeah, that sounds great in logic, but when we go do that, there's this underlying lie that will keep me doing what it is I don't want to do.
Exactly.
Like what Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians, in Romans 7, is I know what to do, and yet I keep doing the wrong thing. Whereas if we were looking at unworthy, if I were to go address this thorn of unworthy for me, I'd be able to go backwards and say, well, maybe I can redo some of my eating habits late at night by just taking a look at that. It's a completely different thought process. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
And we're even talking about things like, I have an unhealthy behavior of being angry when I'm feeling controlled. And so if I'm looking at, well, I want to change this habit in my life of blowing up and becoming angry, it doesn't work to work on that.
Let's pause for a second. How is that landing with you guys? Anger is one of those things out of our clients that's probably the number one reaction that is easy to go to, is some type of anger and rage or passive aggressive. And that is great. I'm sure that's so relatable.
It just doesn't help to work on that stuff.
Yeah. If I work on not being angry, I'm going to access more ability to be angry.
Right.
It's kind of like when I worked on being less negative in my life. Mm-hmm. If I were to work on it that way, which I did attempt to work on it that way, all I saw was more negativity. But if I switch to gratitude, my negativity goes away.
Right. Right. And I think it's just focusing on the wrong thing. And if we can focus on where is the root, what is the lie, let's get freedom from that, then I can have brand new choices to move forward so that my life starts to change.
Amen.
And it's easy. And that's kind of the route we took, is we started on freedom first. We started working on what did the enemy write on our hearts. And it wasn't like immediate where we just woke up and started a brand new lifestyle. It was like we would get freedom from something and I would wake up and be like, I want to exercise.
Yeah.
I want to take care of my body. This is new. This is exciting. And then I've watched our eating habits change because we desire that now, because there's new choices available in freedom, which is what God has for us, is abundance. An abundance in all areas of life. But when we're in bondage, we don't have access to abundance.
That's great. I want to acknowledge you for something. The very first time I remember you making a different eating habit, you went into the pantry. You opened the pantry door. It was late at night. You went to go reach for something, and then you pulled your hand back out. You closed the pantry door, and you came back and told me, hey, I went to go get something. But when I went to go get it, my internal dialogue changed to, you don't need that.
Why are you eating? You're not even hungry.
And then you closed the door. And I was like, what? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, is the ability to get freedom over the thorns so that you can make a completely different decision than you would have made. Mm-hmm. Because what would be easy to do if you hadn't got freedom is to take the food, eat it, have shame, condemnation, and that would have you going back to the food over and over and over. Over and over and over.
Yeah. And then it could be something as small as like, I drink caffeine at 6:00 at night and then wonder why I don't sleep. We're talking about a huge spectrum of habits and behaviors and daily routines that are just important to look at if you have an area of your life that's not working for you. So there was a wake-up call that you had that you ignored. And I'm curious, what, if any, changes did you make during that time? Like after the doctor said, you've got to lose weight and diet, what did you do? Because you said, you didn't take it serious.
I feel kind of embarrassed saying this. I regret my thought process. I immediately knew that fast food wasn't my best option. And so what I decided to do was, instead of eating it 3 meals a day or so, I'd cut down to 1 or 2 meals a day of fast food. And I cut down on sodas. Mm-hmm. But I didn't exercise more. I didn't cut down any more. I didn't change any other daily habits. But I thought, well, this right here should put a Band-Aid on it. It should help to ease up on it or something. I never took it serious.
This is something the Holy Spirit just dropped in my spirit that maybe needs to be said. And I think you were living in such lack at the time.
Yeah.
That it makes sense to me now that you didn't have access to it, no choice, because one, we didn't have money and you need food to survive and it's free. So it had you that having lack in your life comes from a thorn. Yeah. Which causes you to make decisions that are against recommendations that are best for you, and has you going back over and over and over again to it because you're stuck in lack and you can't get out of it.
I was definitely in lack. My thought process, like if I were to give you a thought process around the world then, it was the world is ending, the sky is falling, and there's lack everywhere. Now I can look at a different perspective, and now I believe that God's resources are abundant. And there is abundance in this life. And these unhealthy choices has me looking at lack and going back and doing the same thing over and over and over when that was my mindset. Mm-hmm. I have a different mindset now that I can look back into that and I can see, I never really had a good awareness or education about nutrition, diet, food,
Sleep.
abundance, daily habits. None
Me
of that.
either.
None of that was a thought process that I ever had is, you know what, that would be really important is establish good routines, good habits. And as you establish those and do those, you will live a more healthy lifestyle if you choose healthy habits.
Yeah. That's good right there. And I'm just curious for the audience, have you had a wake-up call in your life that you have ignored? And I would love to hear in the comments below, what was your experience of that and where are you now? We would love to just check in and just see, what are you dealing with? What have you gone through? What is your experience around your well-being and taking good care of yourself? And what are you seeing even through this episode that maybe you need to work on?
Yeah, thanks for that.
So what can we do to be more proactive about our health instead of waiting for a crisis?
Do you want to talk about all four areas here? Okay. Yeah, all four areas of our life, that is physically, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. I said that well. Physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. All four areas of our life, we have to take a good evaluation of where we are first. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 1 to 25, if you were to look at those four areas of your life, rate yourself. 1 being the absolute lowest and 25 being, you know what, I do everything I possibly can in this area of my life to stay full and whole, and see where you land.
And while you're considering that, it's important to recognize that these four areas of well-being they're like the 4 pillars of life. It is what keeps us filled up individually. And it's really important that in this marriage, in order to be whole and complete, not only do I need to discover like my thorns and reactions and all of that, but I also need to know how to fill myself up with the Lord. And there's things that I need to take action in order that I don't get depleted. Because when I'm depleted in life, this is when I show up vulnerable, weak, and really the enemy can just attack me during that time. He can throw circumstances at me. And if I'm already coming depleted, I have nothing left to give. And I'm still trying to pour out to kids and family members and work and all these people. And yet I'm empty. Like, I think so many of us live our life like that. We live with an empty pitcher and we're trying to pour out to other people, expecting that it's going to make me feel better. But I just feel more depleted. I feel more overwhelmed. I feel more empty at the end of that.
You're right. And I'm thinking back to the Bible. What would the Bible say about this? And in the Bible, there's so many passages that would tell us we need to live a God-honoring, righteous life. Like, as we live our life, we are to do that. So as you're thinking about those 4 areas of your life, how could we fill ourselves up in a God-honoring way? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the way we can and look at how to best fill ourselves up in those areas, is what would he have us do? How can we be a good steward of our lives in those areas, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and physically?
And spiritually.
Physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually.
Yeah, it really is so important. I, just to give a few examples of because I know for me, I'm like, how do I fill myself up intellectually? Well, it's really important that our brain is constantly growing. So it may be something like you take a class to learn, or you do a Bible study, and that's going to fill up spiritual, emotional, and intellectual. So there are things that you can be doing for yourself to fill yourself up that will help in several categories. Like if I'm looking at, I need to take care of my physical body, I might go take a walk in nature, but that I also know I feel closer to God when I'm taking a walk. So that's a spiritual fill up. It's also an emotional fill up because I'm emotionally connected to what's going on around me. So there are so many things that we can do in life to fill ourselves up so that when life hits us, when circumstances hit us, we are full and complete, and man, we can handle the things that the enemy throws at us, which is why a lot of times life seems to be kind of easy when we're filled up, right? I don't feel like life gets hard till one of us gets depleted. And then, man, life starts to happen, and it's like trying to play a catch-up game of, I gotta get filled back up, and I don't know how because there's so many things in the way.
I want to be clear in what you're saying. What you're saying is life does seem easier when we are filled up. It doesn't mean circumstances don't come.
Right.
Circumstances will always be in your life. And Jesus was clear, in this life, there will be trouble. There will be problems. But you're right. When we are filled up, it's like, yeah, there's problems, but I'm not in that problem. I can really relate to it. I can make good, wise decisions around it. I can see it from a different angle, a different point of view, from a 3,000-foot point of view, which is really powerful. Rather than being wrapped up in it whenever I'm depleted, it's like it's who I am and it consumes me.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the Holy Spirit just dropped this in my spirit too, because this is something that we discovered maybe 2 years ago, and we call this Esau moments. And it goes back to Jacob and Esau, and Esau had gone out hunting. And when he came home, he was hungry. Who knows how hungry? He probably had been out all day. So he had worked up a hunger, I'm sure. And Jacob had a fresh pot of stew over the fire going. And there was some scheming going on behind that, because they knew he was going to come home hungry, and they knew his habits, they knew his behaviors, and they knew he would be weak in that moment. And he was. And he gave in to a bowl of stew, which was a momentary pleasure. It lasted for a short period of time. And he gave up his long-term blessing, like his life blessing. And we do that. We give up what I really want, which is to be physically fit and spiritually filled up and emotionally connected to the people around me, and that I'm constantly growing. Like, that's what I really want in life. And yet I give in for these momentary pleasures in life that take me away from what I really want. And I do it all the time in so many areas of my life, like eating, physical fitness, not feeling like doing my devotions and getting close to God, because that takes time and I don't have that. And then it's just like boom, boom, boom. They start to deplete so fast that then I'm giving into more pleasure, more and more and more, to the point where I'm miserable. And I'm so far away from what I really want in life.
Man, that is so relatable. I'm curious, as Adelle's talking about these Esau moments, can you see those in your life where you're giving up a lifetime of something that God has
abundance,
for you?
Joy.
For this temporary pleasure, this temporary thing that's going to be gone really soon.
That could be like behind closed doors, secrets and unhealthy things going on there, to sneaking in the pantry and eating some potato chips when I really know that I want the opposite, which is to be healthy and fit.
Yeah.
Potato chips don't get me there, by the way.
No, they don't. You know, as you were talking, before we move on, there's one other thing that I feel led to say is, in the 4 areas of our life, if we were to concentrate on the spiritual side of us, what I have experienced and what I have seen experienced in the people that we coach is that if they choose to work on that area of their life, they will see the rest of the area of their life increase.
Well, because that's where freedom is in the spiritual category. And so if we're seeking after freedom and we're getting free from the lies of the enemy, and we're connecting with God and feeling closely united, one with him, man, the rest of the areas are improving because I'm making better choices and I'm showing up different and I'm caring about me and taking good care of myself. You know, in the Bible, it talks about the Holy Spirit lives in us and we are a temple for him. And I just see it so different. Before I was like, I can't do all these things because I'm supposed to be a temple. But it's so opposite of that. Like, I get to do these things because I want the Holy Spirit to be happy in there. Because I like him in my life and I really depend on him for wisdom and all of those things. And I want him to have a nice house to live in that reflects who he is to other people, that they might see Jesus in me, that they might want something that I have in my life that would improve their life in some kind of a way.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. You would want to set that example for others as well as I'm thinking of you're setting an example for our daughter. You're setting an example for people around you and how you're living a lifestyle of this.
Yeah. It takes personal responsibility to just a whole nother level because you're not going to exercise for me.
No.
You're not going to eat healthy for me.
No.
You're not going to take good care of my brain.
That's right.
You're not going to help me get closer to God. You can do none of those things.
Amen.
But yet I sit here and blame you that you're the reason I gained weight. Or you're the reason I don't exercise because you don't ever let me. You don't give me the time. I mean, there's so many excuses that we can use and we can blame our spouse for all of them. But really, at the end of the day, you are the only one that's going to take care of you. And it's really important that you do that. So we only get one body in this life. So I would love to talk about what are some misconceptions about our health and well-being that you would like to share and address, because I know there's quite a bit of that.
I'll just start with one of mine. One of my misconceptions is around my health and health care. I felt like I could not do anything to make my body better, but I could go to a doctor and the doctor could prescribe something, could get me some physical therapy, could give me some medication, and then that may heal me or fix something that I have. But I never thought about taking personal responsibility of if I were to have, daily good habits of eating or exercise, or if I were to, do something for my healing. Because God made our bodies to heal. Like if I get a cut, it heals.
Right, but I walk around like I have this back pain and it's not going to heal. Or I have this foot pain and it's not going away. God made your body, made our bodies to heal themselves. Like our bodies are miraculous in that way. And when I really saw that, like, my gosh, I know that a cut's going to heal. Why don't I believe the same about my back? Yeah. I just went to doctor and had surgery after surgery, hoping someone else would fix my back, when really I needed a chiropractor and stretching.
Yeah.
And my back is totally healed.
Amen.
But I didn't take responsibility for my health. I put it in healthcare hands. And that led me down a really excruciating path of several surgeries and a whole lot more healing that I had to go through. That had I done those things first, I think I could have completely avoided surgery altogether.
Yeah, quite possibly. And what I don't want you to get us hear us saying in here is that there's anything wrong with the medical professionals. Man, for acute pain, for acute reasons. I mean, there's so many reasons why I thank God we have medical professionals.
Yes.
And they are so helpful. But what I want you to hear in this is that we can take personal responsibility with what God has given us for us to at least see what we can do.
That's right.
With daily habits, with daily routines, with Romans 12:2, with the renewal of our mind, rather than having this thought process that I've got to go to a doctor if I'm going to get healed. I've got to go.
Right. And that was
the
our
myth
mindset
that I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's very relatable to the culture and society we live in today, where we run to doctors for everything, and some things are needed, like you said, but there's a lot we can do ourselves, and that's really important to look at. So I'm curious, how do we break bad habits and instill positive new ones? How would you recommend someone go about that?
How do we break bad habits and how do we install positive new ones? My recommendation is first what I said earlier is identify.
Right.
We need to identify like where do we want to be and what habits we would want to break. And then the next thing is what I see myself and others doing that is not effective is making these drastic, large, complicated changes in our life because you know what, I'm tired of this and I'm going to this. And typically what we see is a burnout of, I just can't do this, and I'll just go back to the way life was.
I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to exercise 6 days a week. I'm getting my life under control.
I'm telling you, this right here repeats itself in the Bible so many times. I'll just give you a reference of the Israelites. They leave slavery in Egypt. They're in the middle of being saved, and they're like, when things get hard for them, they're like, can we just go back to slavery? Because we know that.
Right.
But
yeah,
here's what I want to say. After you've identified it, after you know that you want to do something different, take small changes, little small changes that would lead you in the direction of going to do something positive.
Like maybe it's you start with 10 push-ups every day. Like that's something to start with. Maybe you start with a workout video that's 5 minutes long.
That's it. Yeah.
Something small to get you in the right direction, because if you sprint towards a new lifestyle, you won't be able to maintain it. You will get burned out. You'll quit doing it and you'll be worse off than you were when you started. I've always gained, I'm not always because that is not me anymore. But in the past, I would lose weight and I would feel great and I would revert back and I would gain more. And I did that cycle probably 5 times. And that's how I ended up 75 pounds heavier. Whereas maintaining my weight now is not an issue because I look at all the daily things that impact my well-being and I take that into account. And that was not a sprint for me. That was small changes a little bit at a time over a 5-year lifespan, or not lifespan, of a 5-year span.
And it's not difficult now for you to maintain because it become a lifestyle.
Right.
That's what I want you to hear too, is that once you create a lifestyle, like I imagine it's not difficult for you to brush your teeth a couple times a day because it's become a lifestyle. The same thing would happen when I do other good habits. It will become a lifestyle, and that's just what I do. Mm-hmm. Can I change a little bit on what we're talking about, but stay somewhat on the same subject? Is I'm thinking about Jesus is coming to my mind. And I'm thinking about this thought process around habits and changing them really fast and not changing them. And when I'm thinking about Jesus, I'm thinking about what could come to a mindset around this. Let's just talk about Jesus, is that in order for me to go meet Jesus, in order for me to be saved from him, I need to get my act together. I need to be good. I need to fix myself before I go to him. Yet he's calling you. He's calling you to him. And when you go to him, your thought process, your heart posture, the habits and things that you do, they change. Your bad habits that are leading you away from God, you change those.
Oh, that's the Holy Spirit changing them in you.
Right. Your heart changes. So, you know, like if you were to be watching explicit material that you just no longer want to watch anymore, people think, well, I need to stop doing that before I go to God. But when you go to God, you stop doing that. Like when you go to him, that falls off of your life because of your interaction with Jesus.
Right. Ooh, that's good. Yeah. That's that sanctification process that the old doesn't serve us anymore. And he shows us that over time. And we make new choices to let that part go and embrace something that is good for us.
All of this is the sanctification. All of this that we're talking about is sanctification of the soul and the body. Because your heart, your spirit is immediately sanctified. Mm-hmm. Immediately sanctified because of the transformation with Jesus. But the soul and the body takes some time, and that's what we're talking about here with these daily habits.
Yeah, that just segues right into my next question is, do you have any tips for our listeners who are wanting to have these, or they're struggling really to make positive lifestyle changes? What would you say to them around that?
The first thing that comes to my mind is try. So the first tip I would say is we say words like, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to exercise. I'm going to try to eat more healthy. I'm going to
try to grab this cup.
Okay, so I'm going to try to grab this cup.
No, that's grabbing it.
Okay.
You're reaching out to grab it.
Okay.
Try.
Okay.
What is try?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
So there's either action, like put your cup back up. There's either action or inaction.
Right.
And so you can, in this right here, listen, we're giving you great tips, thoughts, ideas, and you can write them all down and you can think they're great and they can stay in your mind, and that can be inaction.
Well, I'm trying to change is an excuse for not changing.
Or I'll pray about it.
It makes it sound better. I'm trying. No, you're in action. You're not in action. That's what's going on.
Yeah. So the first one would be doing, like knowing what to do and then doing it.
Yeah, and then I would piggyback on that our brain is malleable. Like neuro pathways is such a cool thing. And there's been so much study and research done on our brains now that they are discovering that our brains are constantly rewiring themselves. And all it takes is one new choice to get a new neural pathway. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy after one choice, but the more you choose that thing, the easier it is for your neurons to pass through these neural pathways, and it gets deeper and deeper into this groove that now it's easy. Like now it's easier for us to get up and exercise every morning. We're still getting to that easy because it hasn't quite gotten there, but it is much easier than it was 2 years ago.
It absolutely is.
So and just a way to describe that is, have you ever tried to brush your teeth with the opposite hand? That may be a great little success work to go try and brush your teeth with the opposite hand and see how it feels. It feels weird and strange, and you have to think hard as you're doing it, and you've got to think about the movements, and it's very weird. But it's because I don't have a neural pathway that tells me how to brush with my left hand.
That's the same reason it's weird if you choose to go eat vegetables instead of fast food. It's weird if you go outside and start exercising rather than sitting on the couch.
It doesn't feel right.
It's the exact same thing that you're talking about.
Yes.
It's
so
just
it's important to know that there is a process of time that it takes for something to become easier. And what is it, like 90 days? There's 3 cycles of 21 days. So it's something in that 90th area that 63.
Well, 320
Clearly I can't add numbers. 63.
But 90 is reinforced.
Right.
Definitely reinforced by 90.
Yeah, so it takes time. It really does take time to get to the point where something is much easier, and allow yourself that grace during that time, but keep making the choices. Keep making the positive choices, even when you don't want to, and even when it feels weird and uncomfortable. So now it's time for you to get out your journal. And when we said earlier, you're going to need that because we're going to have questions for you to reflect. Our first question is, what thorn could be operating in your life that would have negative habits and behaviors created from that thorn? Remember, we talked about it's really important to look at the root. And so that's the first thing we want you to really reflect on is, what could be going on under the surface of these unhealthy habits I don't want in my life?
And number 2 is take a look at your daily routines and which category is the lowest category that you want to begin improving. So choose one action to implement to begin changing your life.
Yeah, you only want to choose one. Don't go after it all. Like we said, it's one little positive change at a time. And when you master that, add in another positive change. And when you master that, add in a new one.
Wins are good.
Yes.
Wins are really good for you.
Yes. So to wrap things up today, we explored the link between our daily habits and routines to our overall well-being. And we talked about the importance of diet, sleep, mindset, and taking good care of our physical and mental health. We also learned the importance of being proactive in our health rather than waiting for a wake-up call in our life. And we really hope that through this episode, you were really able to see something new for your own life, maybe why you're not happy with yourself or where you are right now in your life. This is a great place to start. And we just pray and hope that this episode really made a big difference for you.
And you want to stick around for next episode where we're going to talk about the lies of the enemy and negative self-talk versus our real identity.
It is going to be a great conversation you're not going to want to miss. And we just want to say a huge thank you to all of you who are joining us every single week. We hope this conversation has inspired you. We hope that every episode is inspiring you. And we are getting comments right and left of people sharing we're getting healing. We got one the other day that was sharing they're across the world and their marriage is healing from listening to our episodes. Every time we release them, they get excited, they watch them, and they are getting healing. And so thank you for sharing that. It really gives us so much inspiration to just keep going and keep sharing and doing what God has called us to do.
Thank you very much for that. Do you want to read it out loud?
Oh, I did actually.
Yeah.
Let me get it really quick. Here's a comment that we received recently that we wanted to share. Thank you for these podcasts. I have been following y'all for a while and I have learned so much, especially with having to forgive my husband for his infidelity, but also learning to take a look at myself and learning to focus on my relationship with God and to realize my ungodly character throughout the years. Travis and Adelle, y'all are doing the Lord's work. That blessed me so much. Sorry about that. In fact, I got tears. I was like, oh, what we're doing is making a difference.
Yeah, I heard her say that she's taking personal responsibility and she's looking at herself. Way to go.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah. Thanks for your comments.
Thanks for sending that in.
And we just want to say thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And until then, happy week. Have a great week.
Happy week.
Happy week.
Have a happy week. Happy week.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, and welcome to The Noble Marriage, where we bring real, raw, relatable, raw, and real.
We just talked about this.
I got this.
You got this.
Hey, and welcome to The Noble Marriage, where we bring relatable, raw, and real conversations all about life and marriage.
Hi, I'm Adelle.
What was the stall for? I'm Travis.
I was waiting on that.
Oh.
Let's do our introduction.
Do the intro.
Hi, I'm Travis.
All the
Yep.
enthusiasm,
Got it.
all the stuff, and then after you say conversations all about marriage and life.
Pause.
I'm gonna roll in your logo intro, and then, hey, I'm Travis.
That's great.
I'm Adelle.
Yep.
Welcome.
Hey, and welcome to The Noble Marriage, where we bring real, relatable, and raw conversations all about life and marriage.
You don't have to pause that long.
He doesn't know what to say next.
I thought you were going next.
It says, "Hi, I'm Travis."
Okay, I got this. Hey, I'm Travis.
Okay, I was not ready. Sorry.
I got this.
The bloopers are gonna be great.
Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele.
And welcome to episode 16.
So, next question is, have you ever had a similar wake-up call? Let me go back again.
From the top.
Yeah. Happy week.
Have a happy week. Happy week.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. It was already coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, happy what?